Good evening and welcome into the number one Group of Five football podcast of all time. This is the Group of Five, guys. If you're new here, our mission is to be the voice for the Group of Five football programs, a voice that we know nobody in the media, especially the AP, Associated Press, will be the voice for. So we got to do it. We need your help to do that. We need you to follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five, guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your best podcast. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a 5-star rating. Leave a review. Most importantly, tell your family and friends about us. On this episode, last episode before we really dig into the upcoming season, we're talking about pass catchers, best tight ends, and best wide receivers to watch for the 2024 season. I'll give you a little update on the old Sprouse swing set. Plenty more. Hope you enjoy the show. Have you had it from somebody born and raised in Lafayette, Louisiana, at a tailgate? Doubt it.
I said Michael Pratt has got to show up and play, and boy did he. 394 yards, 4 touchdowns, 48 rushing yards on the ground, and another touchdown.
Projected getting drafted between the first and third round. Like, that's incredible.
That's
the wide receivers are absolutely stacked for the Group of Five.
Yeah, I really appreciate you do for the Group of Five programs, and I think it's great. I think we should get more of this. But you guys are on the forefront of this, and
so I'm thankful for this. I'm glad that you're talking about the Group of Five because I think they get overlooked.
But it's a ton of fun to watch a guy go to the NFL from a Nevada or a Colorado State or a Middle Tennessee or an App State, and fans follow that kid.
Jeff, where are you at? New digs back there.
Boys, I'm out of the closet. I've been waiting to come for this for a little while now, and for those who don't know, I've been recording the last 3.5 years or whatever it's been inside of my closet in my bedroom. And I'll give you the grand tour next time we're on. I'll take my phone and go around, but I'm in the pod. I'm in the official pod.
In the pod for the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm fired up. You can see a little bit behind me here. Got the MT helmet. Got my Raider helmet signed by John Gruden. And I'm fired up, man. Fired up to be out of the closet in my new space. It's mine. I don't have to share with anybody. It's great. Mm-hmm. Can really lock in this pod.
Well, you can't hide money, can you, Tip?
No,
I mean, the guy, he's got so much land. He's just putting new structures up all over the place.
No, my beautiful wife. Shout out to Scarlett. Got this. It's a shipping container, is what it is, and it had a door in it, a couple windows, and I mean she's an engineer, so she wired it all, framed it all out, insulated. I helped her with a lot of it, but then to a certain point, I couldn't come in here anymore. So we did the grand reveal today, and there's a few finishing touches.
Surprise.
Yeah, a few finishing touches she's got to do, and then I'll video the whole thing and post it, but it's awesome. She did a fantastic job.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, true Group of Five gal supporter.
Yeah.
Getting this done for me.
No, it looks good. So now I want details on the shipping container though. How did you buy it? Did you get it for this purpose, or was it like you saw it? And I know Scarlett's creative, so she sees stuff and might pick it up, but is this why
she started seeing some videos just on the internet, people like flipping these or making like tiny homes out of them or putting two together, and she's like, I can do that. So she found one, had it shipped. They said it's been here for like 2 years, so that's how long it's taken for us to like really get into it and start doing stuff. But she was like, you know what, this summer I'm gonna finish it, and I'm in here. It's nice, man. It's quiet. I got a big window straight in front of me, so we start shooting in the morning, Sprouse. The old sun will rise. I'll get to see a great
sun through the eyes, on the skin, on the face.
Oh, it's going to be great
for your health.
See, might as well just shout out the new what we got going here.
Yeah, you threw the lob to me, and I just completely whipped.
Jeez.
Looked like Jason Tatum, just a wasted talent at the Olympics. Yeah, so big announcement. If you didn't see the video, guys, starting week 1, so not next week. Next week is week 0, huh? We got football next week, boys.
We got football next weekend.
Week 0, we got Nevada and SMU. This is probably the best game. I'm certainly not going to watch Georgia Tech and Florida State playing in Ireland. I don't understand that. But anyway, so big announcement on our end. If you missed it, starting week 1, we will be live Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Not 1, not 2, not 3. I thought you were going to have that ready to go for me, Jeff. 3 days live, 6 a.m. Eastern time, doing a live show. One thing we've been missing over these years is just like try to keep everything to just over an hour, and there's just not enough. There's too much to talk about, and we want to make sure everybody gets the coverage and the recognition that they deserve. So we're going to add a couple hours to your week, but get up in the morning, get your coffee, listen to it on your drive to work, check in with us. It will be live. So if you're at the house still, or you're already at the office, jump on the live chat, hang out with us. We'll still have the voicemails, all that stuff. But I'm excited about it, man. I think this is the next step in, our rise,
No, I agree. I mean, we've been talking about what the plan was going to be for this season, and we asked a bunch of people and we got their opinion on how should we do it. It is more a good thing, and ultimately just decided let's do morning shows. We'll get it before because you get the midweek games in October and November. So now we can really dive into those games, hit those games before they even start, analyze the midweek games, and then Friday will be a big show. You get to, dive deep into the weekend, and, I think it's going to be great. We want to give more coverage, as much coverage as possible, and I think this allows us to do it.
Yeah, and it allows us, right? You get a bunch of games. Half the time the only mention we're getting of some teams is reading off the score. You know what I mean? So this will give us an opportunity, especially those midweeks. That was always the problem I had trying to put together the outline of the show. It's like, it's Tuesday. Do we really want to talk about a game that happened a week ago, last Tuesday, or do we want to try to talk about the game that's happening right now? Or, it was really difficult to do in that regard. So having it in the morning, got all day to check in. We're going to do some more stuff with some of the daily fantasy stuff, some of the betting. We'll have more stuff on that. And
I do want to add too, like I know one of the big things on Tuesday nights was our live chat, and I know some of that might get hindered by going early in the morning, but we're gonna do some Twitter Spaces. We're gonna get you guys on there and allow you guys to, instead of doing the live chat, voice your opinion on a Twitter Space. You can hop on the mic and say whatever you want to say. To hopefully kind of remedy maybe a little bit of that live chat that we'd miss once a week. But voicemails are they're going to go strong. You have more chances to get on now if we have, we got last year to a point where there was like 12 to 15 voicemails. Well, this splits it up, and now we can do it over 3 days, and it gives more people an opportunity.
Yeah, ain't no doubt about it. And honestly, man, I like them Twitter Spaces. That's like hanging out. I mean, hell, 4 years ago, that was all you could do to hang out with your friends. You know what I mean? You had to get the quarantines, but I think we'll enjoy it. I think everybody's going to enjoy it, and I think the most important thing of it is it gets our message across more. We get to preach this because let me tell you, guys, we are fighting an uphill battle right now. AP poll came out, and by the way, I do want to because. This show today is a pre-recorded show. We are recording on a Monday night. So when you guys ask me later about how far I am on the old swing set, just know it's a day in advance now. Okay. So, so the AP poll came out, as expected, no group of 5 teams in the top 25. Who was the closest? Boise State, right? At like 39, was it?
Yeah. Let me look it up. I think it was
37, maybe.
I'm
maybe
seeing
not that
28.
Bad. 28, that might be.
You had Boise State at 47, Liberty at 32, Memphis at 16, UTSA at 6, Tulane
Points.
at 5.
Those are votes.
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 Votes,
not
yeah,
points.
that's what I'm
Votes.
saying. Yeah, and App State at 4.
Yeah, so
Boise State.
25 ranked Iowa got 140 votes. So then Louisville at 26,
How?
111.
How
Virginia
does
Tech,
Iowa get that
77.
many?
No, I want to know how the two teams that continue to find themselves not just in the top 25 but in like the top 15 is Texas A&M and Miami. Every preseason, dude. Every single preseason.
USC. They got them their sympathy votes at 23. They have a chance to be I'm not bad for USC standards, I guess. But what's frustrating is I don't even know their schedule. But what's frustrating is if they are playing anyone that's quote unquote like a playoff contender and they beat them early on in the season, they're going to say that they have a ranked win against a 23 ranked USC, and USC might win like 6, 7, 8 games this year.
Well, that's the whole issue with these preseason polls, right? Because this was a question that I proposed on Twitter today. Let's just say, for example, Boise State beats Oregon in week 2. Let's just hypothetical. They might not. They're not going to be. They're going to be big time underdogs in that game. But let's just say that happens. Because of preseason rankings, Oregon will still be ranked way higher than Boise State would be at that point. And what you would have is Boise State 2-0 and Oregon 1-1. Boise State with a head-to-head win on the road, but they wouldn't be better. And that's my issue with preseason rankings is you've got teams that are in the top 10 that can lose 2 or 3 games before they even drop out of the top 25. And then you got these teams that got to be 6-0. And this is not just for the group of 5, by the way. This is for your other Power 5 teams that are not these big brands that you ever notice the top 10 is always the same, just about. Notre Dame's been preseason number 7 for about 100 years, haven't they? Did you see that?
Why?
They're number 7 in the first ever.
Can somebody explain that to me?
Oh, well, Jeff, because they have gold helmets and they slap a piece of plywood on the way out of the locker room.
That's exactly
one of the worst traditions in all of sports. How that, I mean, play like a champion today in 3rd grade. I mean, my God, dude.
Well, we already know the whole Rudy
effect, man. It's got a feel good story to it. Yeah,
it's not even true. How was
NC
anyway, State at 24?
Yeah,
because Grayson McCall's there. Is that why?
Well, yeah. Now Grayson McCall's a top 25 quarterback. That's interesting,
that's
huh? But when he was at Coastal and BYU couldn't beat him, that was the big knock. That was the big knock on Zach Wilson, wasn't it? You can't beat little old Coastal. Well, apparently Coastal has a top 25 quarterback.
Something. Tell you what.
Wild, but that's the thing, right? Is a lot of these schools now they're going to have to be 6, 7, 8-0 before they even crack the top 25. And there's just not enough time in the season to climb to where they need to climb to make the playoff. So, I mean, might as well go ahead and put these people in the thing. I mean, it's getting, I don't know. I mean, look, it's for the fans, right? Because everybody hears all the clicks and everybody's all aggravated. And the AP poll technically doesn't mean anything, right? Because the committee, their thing doesn't come out until halfway through the year. But you're going to tell me the committee's not looking at, they beat ranked NC State.
That's all they're going to look at. They base it on a resume type thing. They're not going to start watching until they actually got to start doing their rankings, right? So they're going to start looking at it from on paper, from a resume perspective, and just looking at quality wins. And so they're going to see, so-and-so beat North Carolina State or USC, and they were ranked 23rd, 24th. Oh, look, so-and-so beat 22 ranked Kansas in week 1 or 2. So that's a quality win because it was a ranked team. It doesn't matter that Kansas right now is 3-4. They were ranked at the time they played this team. So that's a quality win.
Yeah, well, that's what's bad too, because in the group of 5, they don't start with – they're going to only watch your top 15, 16 teams every week. Like, they're not watching somebody that's unranked. And then when it comes down to those last 2 weeks, here's Liberty sitting at number 20 undefeated. We better watch them. We better start paying attention. And I don't know, man. the only answer is to let all conference champions make the playoff. And then you wouldn't record wouldn't matter, schedule wouldn't matter, strength of record, strength of schedule, preseason poll, any poll wouldn't matter. Everybody gets in. And then you could, okay, maybe let's take a committee then if you want to seed those teams. But other than that, I mean, you're relying on humans who any human has bias. They have preconceived notions. So,
well, Sprouse, you better be careful talking about all those conference champions making the playoffs, because if you put that on Twitter or put something like, I've been taking shrapnel the last couple of days, boys.
You have. Well, the funniest part about your thing is that people are not even they're not even arguing what you originally said.
Yeah,
like
it's been twisted so many times.
Like you said 4 teams, and they're like, clearly you don't know ball if you think Michigan's in there, which literally proves your point. They're literally in the arguments in your timeline saying Michigan doesn't belong with the rest of the teams. Fine, maybe they don't, but that's proving your point that nobody belongs with the top. I mean, it's like it's so wild. It's just absolutely wild. But
it's bonkers.
Speaking of social media, did you guys see this idiot on Instagram that he thought he was being funny, but he was really exposing himself as a non-ball knower. He's I don't know if he was playing the video game or he was like, Charlotte was on the screen of like their NCAA video game, like their rating and all that stuff. Their logo, the big green, it had little stars and all that stuff. And this guy's like looking at the logo and he's like filming himself and he's like, who is this? Charlotte 49ers. I ain't never heard of Charlotte 49ers. And it's just like, are you like, do you think that's funny, or are you just proving that you're not somebody that knows about football? Like, I don't care if you say they're not good or whatever, but the fact you don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
And that again, and that's the kind of person that the ESPNs of the world are catering to. That guy. Of course he doesn't know who, because he watches Herb Street and them every week, and they've never and Pat McAfee didn't know who Charlotte was. Remember that?
I do.
On his first episode of Game Day, didn't know what conference they were in. So I mean, that's who you're catering to. That same guy probably gets mad at his NFL team when they draft somebody that he's never heard of. He probably, he thinks he drafts a fantasy football roster off of names he's heard of. I mean, it's just, I don't know, dude. I am getting sicker and sicker of like just the average football fan by the day. I don't know if I can take it much longer.
It's bad. I'm getting sicker and sicker of just social media in general. I mean, the things that people post and put on there, I'm going to sound like an old man here, but man, I worry about the next generation coming up, boys.
No, the pendulum will swing back.
Swing back.
That's what happens. Like cool kids, like probably even older than your kids are gonna. The cool kids aren't gonna have social media, is what it'll be. They'll do whatever the kids do whatever the rebellious thing is. So they won't have it, and then my kids will probably have it again. Like, let me tell you about your dad when he had a Twitter. But anyway, I got to update you guys on the old swing set. So it is not complete. The thing, it's really I'm serious now. It's very close. Like my table, like I've thrown a lot of empty bags of screws away. I've got one whole table is completely gone of the pieces of the boards. So now I've pretty much got the roof. So you've got a frame. There's like 3 different roofs because there's like levels to the thing. So you've got to frame the roof and then put like shingles. I don't know how to describe it. It's a board that you got to put on it. But the problem with the thing is, like, I'm actually enjoying it because it's very methodical, and it's like, I'm gonna tell you, do you want to feel accomplished? Build you a damn swing set. I mean, it's pretty cool. Yeah. And so, like, I'm out there solo. I have not had 1 ounce of help, and I'm gonna try to not have help. The only time I think I might is when I have the big beam that the swings are on. When I have to attach that, I might need. I don't know. I hadn't tried it yet. But anyway, so every little thing is like one board, like one picture of 2x4. So you can't just like lift the wall up. Like you're literally taking 4 screws about 20 times to do one little wall. And so like it's like I think I'm on I don't know, I think I'm on step like 68 or 69 out of like 80 something. I think I'm on page 90 of like 120 of the damn
Jeez.
instruction manual. I mean, it's 3 levels.
You got a penthouse?
Murr,
It's
speaking
like a
of,
tiny home. I mean,
speaking of can't
honestly,
hide money, I mean, he's got a swing set with 3 roofs on it.
My goodness.
better than my house. I would tell you what, if a
Who,
tornado
who
comes, I
made the
got more
swing set?
faith in that.
The W? The same people who own that hotel down in
No, the Sam's
Fort
Club.
Lauderdale?
Sam's Club made the damn thing. But dude, I'm probably at, if I had to add all the hours, I'm probably at like 20, 21 hours right now. Like what sucks is if I had one more weekend day, I'd be done with it. But like I'm only able to do like a couple hours when I get home from work and then before this and stuff. So like I think I got it. The first thing I did was last Tuesday, I took everything out of the box. I think before our show is all I did. And Wednesday, I think it was raining, so I couldn't do anything. Thursday, I did like an hour and a half, basically like built like the rock wall, put the little rocks on it, like anything that was like real easy putting together. Then Friday, I worked till probably like 9:30 or 10 at night. And it's crazy, dude. You think it's close, like it looks like it's close, and then you turn the page in that instruction manual, and there's a step that's like, this is like a 2-hour step. Like I'm like the door. Okay, the door by itself is like 6 boards, and then this little circle window that you got to put in. And like, let me tell you, dude, if you don't do it perfect, and one screw doesn't fit properly, you got to like take everything out. You gotta, and that's what set me back on Saturday. I was putting like one wall up, and the holes weren't matching, and they were way off by like a few inches. And I was like, how the hell, like, am I this off? Everything's flush. Like I'm going along the sides. Everything's flush. Everything's level. And then I'm looking at the picture, and I realized that the board on the bottom is flipped the wrong way. So then I got to unscrew everything. And then, you know how it is. God forbid one of the little 2-inch gold screw falls in the grass. You can't find it. It's gone. I mean, I'm literally like, it'll land on my foot, and I'll look down. I'll get my fingers comb through the grass, and it's completely disappeared. So then you got to go back over to the table, find the labeled number again, grab the right amount of screws, and then it's like, well, I hope I'm going to have enough by the end of this. I've lost so many screws in the freaking grass. Then you got the little washers that are even more difficult. And I'm telling you, dude, it is like, but I've gotten a chance to watch a lot of tape, though. I'll tell you that much. I've been out there having some highlight films on. I got the music going on and when it's daylight, but when the sun goes down, I got my like floodlights, I guess, out there. I'm working at night. You're
grinding right now.
I'm what they call blue collar guys. I mean, I am out there. I'm out there with a tool belt, hard hat. No, I don't do that. But I did make the mistake on Saturday. I was out there with my shirt off, and my back is quite red. Quite red. It is, but it's hot, dude. All the neighbors were like, "Just work at night, dude." And I'm like, "Why?" It's hot, nothing. But yeah, you can't see nothing. And like, there's something about working in the sun, like working in the sun, sweating. I mean, it's good for you. Plus, my kid, I'm telling you, he's watching me out the window. He's in his bed looking out the window, and he's going like thumbs up, daddy. And I'm like, yeah, man. It's pretty cool, man. It's a little bonding moment. He better like the damn thing. I'll tell you that. I'm gonna force him to play on it. Like if he's like, it's too hot, I'm like, you better sit. It is hot
outside.
Yeah, that happens too, though. Now the screws and bolts and stuff, they're baking in the sun, and you pick one up, or you pick up the drill or something, or a drill bit. I do have a little blister on my hand from picking up a hot drill bit. So I don't know. You might have to like spray it down before the kids get on there. It's hot. Anyway, give me another 6 hours and it's gonna be done, I think. So I'll go Tuesday. Kids got soccer, so I'll go like 7 to 9. I'll probably work on it. Wednesday night. That's what I'm gonna call. Wednesday night we'll complete the task.
There you go. It's when camp finishes for you.
Yeah. And then it's game day, and I'm putting him out there, and he better like it. But anyway, I have been watching some film, boys. I've been watching a lot of wide receiver tape. So that's what today's all about. Tight ends and wide receivers. What we want to do, tight ends first? Let's knock some tight ends.
Let's
Do
knock
it.
out the tight ends first.
Tight ends. There's a lot of good wideouts, a lot of good tight ends too. But I will be quite frank. I don't have a ton of stats and numbers to back up my stuff because of my saga in the backyard. I just been eye test, dude, watching tape, watching film. Tight ends, I got a couple of them. I think the number one guy in the group of 5 is going to be the kid from Bowling Green, Fannin. Are you guys with me on that?
I have him at 1. Yeah.
Yeah, and Bowling Green, Jeff, you were high on Bowling Green in the last show, talking about their O-line being real big. I just did the Get Back Coach podcast. They're high on Bowling Green too. A lot of rebuilding happening in the MAC outside of Miami.
Sneaky good team. Sneaky good team in the MAC.
Bowling Green sitting there. Can they be back? But yeah, what'd you guys have on him? Anything in particular?
Just 6'4", 230 pounds. He had 623 yards last season, had 6 touchdowns, averaged 14.2 yards a catch. I just think that he's going to be a key player in that offense, and it comes down to the quarterback Bazelak. But man, they got some offensive weapons, and when you got a threat like him in the red zone, I mean, it's your security blanket as a quarterback. I mean, you got a guy that big. If he's running against a linebacker, he's going to be too fast. He's going to be too physical, especially if you try and put a safety or a DB on him. There's just no chance. So I think Fannin's going to have a great year. Another one I have, will stay in the MAC, is Grayson Barnes at NIU. 6'5", had 5 touchdowns last year, 422 yards. And again, when you get a dominant run team like NIU is and what they want to do, you get in the red zone. I mean, you're going to go play action, run that guy on a corner route or a post down the middle, depending on the coverage, and just hit that big target. It's going to – a good tight end, especially in the red zone, is such a key weapon, especially when you got a younger quarterback too, because it's just, I'm going to throw it up to this big guy and let him go make a play. So Grayson Barnes was one that I had for staying in the MAC.
Who else do you have, Tip?
So I got a few, yeah. Bentley Hanshaw from Liberty. He's 6'4", 245. He had 18 receptions, about 220 yards, and 6 touchdowns last year. But with C.J. Daniels gone, he could, I don't know exactly off the top of my head how many receptions C.J. Daniels had. I know it was a lot. But those are receptions that they got to go somewhere, right? We know this Liberty offense isn't going anywhere. They're going to keep, attacking both with their running game and also with Caden Salter's passing. So I'm looking to see for more balls thrown Hanshaw's way this year. Also, Alex Bauman from Tulane, 6'5", 245. He had 35 receptions, 286 yards, and 5 touchdowns last year. We know how good Tulane's offense is. So just adding, having this guy in your lineup, like Murph said. I mean, the one thing I did notice when I was going through, this list of tight ends in the group of 5, how big these guys are. All of them 6'5", 6'6" range. I mean, to have that kind of size, both while you're and size when they're on the line blocking, but also you can get these guys lined up, in the slot or outside as well, and use them as a receiver, and look for mismatches. And speaking of mismatches, I know we've talked about this guy. If for those that did not watch our live show from the Georgia Southern spring game earlier this season, Tyler Fromm at Georgia Southern. He's a transfer from Auburn, Jake Fromm's little brother, 6'5", 230 pounds. He's coming into an offense that throws the ball a lot, right? And we saw what they were doing. Obviously, in a spring game, they're not going to show a whole lot. But we noticed that they had Tyler Fromm, lined up on the line, and they also put him out, in the slot a few times on the outside. They're just looking for the mismatch. They're looking to see if they're going to put a linebacker on him or a corner or a safety. And if they see that mismatch, they were looking his way. And when you're that size, when you're 6'5", 6'6", and can move like the way Tyler Fromm does, and we talked about it in that show, but it looks like it felt like Georgia Southern last year was moving the ball great, between the 20s, right? But then once they got in the red zone and inside the 20-yard line, there were times where they struggled to score. But you bring in a tall, physical, athletic tight end like Tyler Fromm, and he gives you that. He's a red zone target, right? So I'm looking for him to. He could be, the sneaky tight end really that no one's really talking about, but could end up being one of the top tight ends in the group of 5 this season.
Yeah, I like that. Speaking of, you mentioned size earlier. I can't believe nobody's went down to San Antonio. Oscar Cardenas. That guy's been there a long time.
He has, yeah.
Isn't he the one that caught the game-winning play against UAB a few years back, right?
Yep.
6'4", 265. That's a hoss. Interested to see how much more involvement he'll get without Frank Harris there. Because he only had 2 touchdowns last year, 2 touchdowns the year before that. So we'll see. You look at these tight ends, like you mentioned, Tip, in the red zone. I like to see more out of him this season. I only had one other, but
I got a couple other.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to Conference USA real quick, and Sean Brown, tight end for Jacksonville State, 6'5", 250. Only 294 yards off 19 catches last year, but had 5 touchdowns. So you just know he's going to be that red zone target, especially with Rich Rod and the way they like to run the ball. And just that play action is a killer when you run the ball that well and you get down the red zone. Look for Sean Brown. Holden Willis at MTSU.
Oh, I thought you were going to go there.
Of course I am. And I got to see him live last week at practice. And let me tell you, him and Vadiato's chemistry is tip-top, boys. It is tip-top. 6'4", 212 pounds, had 46 catches last year, 697 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He was Vadiato's second leading receiver. So having him back, that chemistry, and you'll see him occasionally with his hand in the dirt, but they like to put him out wide, get him at mismatches on a linebacker, because that's the thing. What are you going to do? You're going to put a linebacker out there, or are you going to change personnel and bring a nickel guy in, and then you want to cover him with a nickel? Well, if you do that, now you're a little bit short in the run game. So that's that chess match. And having a really athletic tight end who's big enough, that can stay in and block if you need him to, or he's fast enough and quick enough to get on the outside and make linebackers miss and run good routes and get good leverage. And then the last guy I had was App State in the Sun Belt, Eli Wilson. This guy had 34 catches, 350 yards, and 5 touchdowns last year for the Mountaineers. He's back. Again, seems like App State's returning all of their skill guys this year, and their O-line is supposed to be better. So look for Eli Wilson to build off of that year. And there's so much focus on Robinson on the outside, I really think that Wilson's going to have another big, even bigger year than last year.
Tip, do you have anybody else?
I got one more. Yeah, going back to the MAC, Anthony Torres in Toledo. He's 6'6", 250 pounds, had 464 yards on 26 receptions last year, 3 touchdowns. Toledo, one of the better offenses in the MAC, one of the better teams, one of the top 2 teams in the MAC, them and Miami of Ohio. So tight end on one of the top offenses in the conference. So look for him to have another big year this year.
I like it. Jeff, anybody else tight end wise? There's a lot of wide receivers we got to hit here.
A lot of wide receivers. I mean, there's so many.
There's a lot. And wide receiver is one of those positions, right, where there's guys all over the place. I'm going to tell you, man, I watched Ricky White on Friday night while I'm building swing sets now. Just home run threat, man. Just speed, go up and get it. I mean, there's a reason the guy's first team All-American and he led the country last year, right? I mean, he's the real deal, and he's on everybody's radar now. There's no more, who's this guy we never heard of from UNLV, right? So, I mean, y'all have him as your number 1 guy? I feel like 1 and 2 were probably.
I had him at 2.
It's so hard to rank these guys, to be honest.
Yeah.
And he was at the top of the list for sure, but that's a lot of production he had a year ago, and with whoever UNLV is going to peg as the starting quarterback, I just think teams aren't going to let him go one-on-one with corners. I just don't see how you do that. So I think he'll get a lot more cards. I think he's still going to have a great year. Almost 1,500 yards last year, 8 touchdowns. I mean, it just if he replicates that, that's going to be insanely impressive.
By the way, you know who else I watched, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the Sprouse stamp of approval on Tyler Tipton's prediction from a few weeks ago.
Here we go.
I went back and watched old Holy Cross play a few ball games. Let me tell you something about old Matt Sluka.
Let's go.
You want to talk dual threat?
Let's go.
I mean, we're talking a big time dual threat, and Holy Cross now. This is a top 5 FCS program here. So these are games, and these are playoff games. These are big games, cold weather games. And I mean, my man's running all over the damn place.
Good.
He is good.
You get that boy out in the desert now. You get that boy out in the desert now, where it's nice, warm turf inside. Come on.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean, that's a weapon. I mean, that may hurt Ricky White's production, to be honest with you. But yeah, that's what I've been telling people. Tip said it, and I usually take Tip for his word, but I wanted to go take a peek, put my own eyes on it, put my own eyes on some Holy Cross tape. And yeah, dude, he's good, man. I like kind of scary good, actually. The other guy, it might be your number 1, but my number 2, staying in the Mountain West, was Torrey Horton at Colorado State.
It's like a 1A, 1B, right?
Yeah, they are, and it's just funny that they both play in the same conference. And like we said when we had Coach Mummy on, Torrey Horton's been on our radar for 2 or 3 years now, but he's on everybody's. I mean, he's getting NFL talk. Him and Ricky White are the 2 players in the group of 5 that are on every list of top wide receivers right now.
Isn't that crazy how loaded the Mountain West in receivers is? Because I'm going to stay right there. I'm going to go Utah State, Jalen Royals, and he's a smaller guy. And I had to double check these stats. Kid had over 1,000 yards receiving and had 15 touchdowns last year. And that was honestly with a little bit of a quarterback carousel over at Utah State. And now you wonder what this production is going to be like with all the things that happened.
Yeah.
With the head coach and quarterback transfers and all the things. But I mean, kid's special, man. Just get the ball in his hand and he's gonna make guys miss. He's gonna make electric plays. So Jalen Royals is definitely a guy you got to watch out for.
Now, I haven't even been keeping track. Have they lost anybody in the portal since the coaching change? Because they opened it again.
Not since then, but Laga's gone.
Where'd he go?
He was there forever.
I was going to say, did he graduate finally?
I'll tell you. Hold on.
Yeah. Yeah, Mountain West is it's so funny that the kind of conference that the Mountain West is, because it's like you kind of have this perception of cold weather and this and that, but then you got like UNLV and Fresno and all these, and you got all these air raid and these go-go offenses out there, like, and then you got Air Force running the damn wing tee. It's like it's such a wild conference. Really, college football in general is wild.
Cooper Laga went to Tulsa.
Interesting spot.
Yeah.
What you had Royals too? I had Royals. That was my 1, 2, and 3. White, Horton, and Royals. All three in the Mountain West. Another guy I had. I got to go to the South Florida Bulls. Sean Atkins. Everybody was on Twitter when we posted that. Who's the top receivers in the group of 5, and Sean Atkins was one that South Florida Twitter fans, they're out there. They got to start winning some games, and old Raymond James might fill up if the Twitter fans go to the games. But they were all over it, Sean Atkins. So you got Byron Brown coming back, of course. So a lot of expectations for that offense. Tip, who you had him too? I think we're on par right now with our first 4. It seems like. I don't know if
I had him a little bit lower on my list, but he's still. I mean, he's on it for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Tip? Who else did you have?
So we got to go to the wide receiver duo in Memphis. We got to go to Rock Taylor and Demir Blankham-C. Both of these guys last year over 50 receptions, over 900 yards. Rock Taylor had almost 70 receptions, over 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns. Blankensee had 53 receptions, a little over 900 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I mean, both of these guys can score at any time, right? I mean, it always helps in offense, right? Whenever you got 2 stud receivers, and it also helps when you have a quarterback like Seth Hennigan throwing you the ball. But I mean, they got playmakers all around the field on offense, and that's why they're one of the top teams this year in the group of 5. Going over to App State, Caden Robinson, 6'2", 205 pounds. He had 63 receptions, 905 yards, and 10 touchdowns last season. Like Murph mentioned a little bit earlier, looks like App State's returning, a majority of their talent and starters on offense. So shouldn't really, should be a lot of the same this year for App State. Should be, scoring a lot of points, like Murph said. Offensive line seems to be improved. So, you got these players with another year under their belt in this system. So App State's going to be good again this year. Can't wait to watch these guys.
They should be good. You just never know.
Expectations.
I go
man.
back to yeah, that's true. But I keep going back to those one score losses. Like some years they go your way, some years they don't. Last year for App State didn't go their way. This year they could. Those close games. They did win a lot of close games last year also, but the ball rolls a different way, and turnovers were a big thing, big issue for them last year, right? So you reduce the number of turnovers. A lot of those close single score losses are wins. And then you're looking at a 10-11 win App State team.
Hey, speaking of Sunbelt, I do want to give a shout out, and unfortunately we're not going to get to witness him this year, but Chris Lewis at Troy, just unfortunate for him with that, with his medical diagnosis. And I mean, that guy had a coming out party last year. I mean, he had a top 10 highlight just about every week with a one-handed catch or, a toe tapping touchdown in the corner of the end zone every week. And I mean, just again, thoughts and prayers with him. Because he's gonna, I mean, I don't know that he's ever going to play football again. So, but wanted to give that guy a shout out because he would have been one of the top ones to watch for sure. Jeff, who else do you have?
Yeah, I got a handful of guys. I'm going to go with sat out all last season for the Roadrunners, but he's back. J.T. Clark. In 2022, this guy, 741 yards receiving, had 8 touchdowns, 14.5 yards per reception. I mean, guy's a stud, and that was the same roster when, correct me if I'm wrong, boys, that Zachary Franklin was there.
Yep.
And I'm missing the other guy's name, but I mean, they had a 3-headed monster, and that guy was able to put up those type of numbers. So he was injured all last year. He's back. And interesting enough, San Antonio, at this point of the season, they assign, so 0 through 9 is like a really special, they value those numbers and the team votes on it. But specifically 2, 1, 0, which is their area code, those 3 numbers, those are voted. Those are essentially, I don't know if they're captains, but they're held in high regard. Number 0 this year will be Oscar Cardenas. Number 1 will be J.T. Clark. And surprising enough, number 2 will be Owen McCown. So to me, that tells me it's your day 1 starter, right?
Gotta be.
I mean, you don't get assigned that number if you're going to be the second string. So, but yeah, they assigned JT Clark number 1. So high honor down in San Antonio, and I'm expecting a massive season out of him. He is a mismatch nightmare. He's 6'3", over 200 pounds, just a stud of a receiver. So happy to get him back. And then I had a couple more I'll run down. Toledo's receiver, Jerwan Newton, dynamic player when the ball's in his hands. Only had 52 receptions last year, 700 yards, but had 9 touchdowns. Guy just has a nose for the end zone. Receiver out of Texas State, Joey Hobart, 5'11", 180 pounds, had 76 receptions last year, almost 900 yards, and another 8 touchdowns for him. Kid is dynamic. Look for him to be, the top target down there. And he had some incredible catches last year. I think a couple one-handers, sideline, toe tap type catches. So that kid Joey, I'm excited to watch him this year.
My last one that I had back up to the MAC, guy's been there for a long time. Trayvon Rudolph was a freshman All-American, but then he had a season-ending knee injury the following year. Came back, was their leading pass catcher last year. How about this, though? He's their leading pass catcher, and he earns most improved offensive player after spring ball. So I think they're expecting some big things out of Trayvon Rudolph. They've had, NIU has been so close. They've had, Rocky Lombardi, for as good as he was, just couldn't stay healthy. And so they've kind of had some QB issues there at NIU. But I look for Trayvon Rudolph, big year for him. Tip, who else do you have? Anybody else?
Yeah, I got one more. Stephen McBride over at Hawaii. 6'1", 165 pounds. Last year, 63 receptions, a little over 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns. I mean, Hawaii the last few years just been throwing the ball all over the place. They just give up too many points on defense, right? And it just seems to be the trend right over the last few years. They just don't seem to play as well on the road because of all that travel, but they do play well at home. But I'm excited to see how Hawaii plays this year. Like, I know they're going to score a lot of points, so the offense is going to be fun to watch. But can't wait to see if the defense is improved and they can be competitive over
their home opener is at home, and they get UCLA coming across the pond there. So you never know. Boy. That'd be awesome for them to that'd be a great win to start the season.
Could be a Mountain West sleeper this year, maybe.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here. The only thing I'm thinking about is the travel of UCLA, because they go that way, then they go back the other way. I mean, jeez, dude.
That makes a whole lot of sense, doesn't it?
You have to I will say, with all this realignment, you're going to have to start looking at travel, and kickoff times are going to be a lot more important, when these teams are traveling across 3 time zones for games. That's, of course, especially if you're a betting man, and that's in particular in the Atlantic Coast Conference, where you have multiple teams from California going there. And if any of them happen to go to Hawaii first, I know UCLA is not one of those, but
that's the ones we need to look for, right?
Coming off
the season, coming off travel, and then they travel 2 or 3 different time zones, and maybe they go from the West Coast to the East Coast and have a noon kickoff.
Maybe a short week or something like that. Yep. You're exactly right. Because you're talking about, especially, God knows there's delays and stuff with every flight that flies from anywhere nowadays. So, you got to think, man, if you're a team that typically we always traveled Friday afternoon, really. You'd pretty much get there, eat dinner, watch a movie, and have curfew. So, God forbid you get a delay, you don't get in till midnight, and you got a game at noon. Oh, boy.
Well, check this out just real quick. Stay on UCLA. So they go to Hawaii week 1, at home against Indiana. Then they go on the road in Baton Rouge, so LSU. Then they at home against Oregon. Then they go on the road to Penn State. Then they're back home in Minnesota.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely brutal.
Wow.
On the road at Rutgers. On the road at Nebraska. Iowa at home. Washington on the road. USC at home, and then Fresno State.
Wow.
To finish it off.
So they're literally
they're bouncing
West Coast,
pretty
East
much.
Coast, West Coast.
Yeah, every game. But I guess that's what you get.
All for the mighty dollar, huh?
That's it. I do have a couple more guys I want.
It's got to be way more expensive if you travel. I bet you're going to see a lot, and this will make it even more expensive. I bet you're going to see a lot of the really profitable programs are going to be traveling on Thursdays, which I think some of them do that already. Like I'm talking your true Power 4, Power 5, your Alabamas, your Texas. I think they are already traveling on Thursday nights, but you're gonna have to.
Yeah.
In some of these scenarios, and you're gonna get the noon You're going to get that Big Ten noon kickoff game on
At
Fox
Rutgers.
at Penn State or at Rutgers.
Yeah.
And you just got done playing at home in Los Angeles, flew across the country on a – oh, man. And then you got to keep an eye on the way back. I mean, because you're going to red eye. You're going to red eye back to L.A. Then you're going to have –
crash.
You get up and have practice. And then you're going to – I mean, I don't know if kids are still going to school, but you're going to go to class on Monday morning at 8 a.m. I mean, I don't want any part of that schedule.
No.
Anyway, you got a couple more guys, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm going to list them off. I'm not going to go into super big detail, but Dalvin Smith, receiver at Western Kentucky, I think he'll be the top target for the Hilltoppers. Jamal Pritchett for South Alabama. In that offense, I think he'll have another great year. He had 8 touchdowns last year, almost 1,000 yards. And then I got a couple sleepers, some guys maybe flying under the radar that you might not know about. And I mentioned this guy, Missouri State transfer to Fresno, Raylan Sharp. He's a smaller guy, but he had almost 1,000 yards at Missouri State last year, 7 touchdowns. I watched film on him. This kid is absolutely elusive when he gets the ball in his hands. Great in and out of his breaks, very quick. Really strong hands, and in this offense, I expect him to have a big year for with Mikey Keene. I'm going to stay right here in Murfreesboro. Amari Kelly. Got to see this young man transfer from Auburn. I think he'll end up being Vadiato's top target. Just a physical presence on the outside. Doesn't have a lot of stats, but in this offense, they're going to throw the ball. And with a veteran like Vadiato, had over 3,000 yards passing last year, so those yards got to go to somebody. I think Amari Kelly's going to be the guy in Murfreesboro. And then the last couple names I'm just going to mention is Tulsa, Camden Benjamin. Had a great season last year. Look for him to build on that. Transfer from USC, Mario Williams at Tulane now. That offense is going to be rolling. And then the last two is ECU Chase Sowell. This kid's 6'4", almost 200 pounds. And then Dean Patterson at FIU. Kewan Jenkins is going to need a top target. Pretty sure it's going to be Dean Patterson. So those are some names to keep an eye out for.
Speaking of Mario Williams, a couple things. I asked who I needed to watch film on, and actually Jim Nagy of the Senior Bowl said watch Mario Williams, and I did. Now, of course, you don't have any film from him at Tulane yet. It's all at USC and Oklahoma, but yeah, dude, Tulane. Listen, every time I watch another, he was the guy at USC. First of all, and by the way, do you know he's also the one that muffed the kick in the Cotton Bowl against Tulane?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I was watching an interview, and one of the guys asked him, like, "Did they ever give you trouble about that?" He's like, "No, not really." But yeah, dude. I mean, just game breaker. Man, like so quick, so shifty. Tulane is like, we need to keep it down on Tulane. We need to
spewing any rat poison.
Yeah, we don't need rat poison. But I think what they got going in New Orleans, they got the voodoo down there. They are gonna
look. I got absolutely slammed for saying Tulane could compete with LSU on Twitter today. So I'm pulling for the green wave.
I mean, that's not even an
that's a hot take.
One. No, that's pretty. I mean,
they just kept referencing, they got this many national championships and all this. I'm like, okay,
dude,
I'm talking about this year, going into this year.
Is that the same roster from this year won all those national championships at LSU?
You know what? LSU fans are bored. They're bad. Because there was also, I was going back and forth with an LSU fan, and he was talking about how bad all the players at Louisiana were, and I was like, your best 2 offensive players were at Louisiana last year. Kyron Lacey's their best wide receiver, transfer from Louisiana, and it's like their mind can't comprehend that. Like they cannot comprehend talent at anywhere else, and they like, I don't know, Jeff, you're getting me stirred up.
I don't know who's worse, LSU fans or Tennessee fans.
No, Tennessee, they're the worst.
They're
at least
bad.
LSU's been good.
That's
they've won some natties in the last few years. But like, oh man, That's not a hot take at all. They always move. There's always a moving of the goalpost or an excuse on why games go a certain way. Like first, it'll be like, well, what about this year when Georgia State beat Tennessee? That was the worst coach we've ever had. It's like, yeah, but he was still there. It's still part of your program. Like,
somebody hired that guy.
You can't every time you lose. That's how those idiot fan bases think. Every time they lose, they want to fire the coach. Like that's how they think. They probably also don't know who Charlotte. These are the people, right? They don't know who Charlotte is on the video game. They're mad about their NFL draft picks and stuff like that. And it's just like when can you ever just have a game on the field that's fair? Well, that was week 1. We had a new system. Like the group of 5 doesn't have new coaches and new systems and new playbooks and runs a vanilla offense when it's a non-conference game, or only those. They just they don't know anything about anything, Jeff, and it bothers me. It really does. And I can't even read your Twitter without getting mad.
I just stopped looking at it. It's just there were so many comments, and I was just like, I'm turning this off. It's crazy.
Well,
gone viral, boys.
You made it, I think, Jeff. No, you had a tweet earlier in the summer that went crazier than that. I don't remember what you said.
It was no, it wasn't the summer. It was when what's his name, James Madison's coach Signetti left.
Signetti. Oh, dude. By the way, he's still on. He is still on one.
What's he saying now?
Well, I made the mistake of putting the Big Ten network on while I'm out there doing my swing set, and they're doing the Big Ten road trip or whatever, and they're at Indiana, and the guy's like, he asked him a question like, you've been at this school and that school, and now you're here. Like, what have you learned along the way? Right? It's a nice softball question. And you know what he answered? He goes, that I know what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh.
What a tool, dude.
Like, why are you like this, bro? Oh, man. He better hope they win. He better hope they win some games. But anyway, I do want to apologize. I feel like I was not on my A game tonight. So, you gentlemen, that's my fault. But hope you still enjoyed it, because it's the week of week 0. We're going to hit. This is what we're going to hammer you with here, guys. We're going to go Monday through Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Every day is going to be a conference preview. And then the week after that is when we start the live Monday, Wednesday, Friday show. So we are going to be rolling, pushing stuff out. Before we go, I know we got a couple of voicemails. Guys, when we're doing live shows, no better time. Hit the voicemail. 615-900-4286. Hit the voicemail with a hot take, an immediate reaction after a game, before a game, prediction. Those are always the best, right? When you call right before kickoff and then you call right again right after kickoff, after you've had a few and your emotions are going one way or the other. But 615-900-4286. Jeff, let's hear what we got.
Yep, we got 2 voicemails. The first one did not leave his name, but he is a Liberty fan. So if you can, when you leave these voicemails, try to remember to leave a Twitter handle or something. That way we know what to call you. But we got a Liberty fan calling in.
Hey, Group of 5 guys, enjoy your show. You do a good job. I want to point out something about Liberty's schedule from last year that most people forget. They not only played New Mexico State, who had beat the Group Power 5 team. They beat them twice, and New Mexico State beat Auburn by double digits. But they also, Liberty beat Bowling Green, and Bowling Green beat Power 5 Georgia Tech by double digits also. So Liberty's 3 of their wins of the 13 were against 2 teams that had Power 5 wins. So they're not getting all the love, and a lot of people are not realizing that that's the case, as well as the fact that for this year, Liberty teams actually will be better than it was last year. So they'll have more depth, which should be a scary thing for the rest of the Group of 5. But don't underestimate the Flames. Here in North Carolina, they're looking good. The true test is going to be against Appy State. So if they go up to Appy State, beat them double digits, it's all over for everybody else, because they should win out. But anyway, guys, just thought I'd pass that on, and do appreciate you. Enjoyed the fact that you was up at the championship game for CUSA. You did a great job. You do a great job for Group of 5, and enjoy watching you. All right, guys. Talk to you another time. Bye.
Appreciate you, man. That's a good point, and nobody does bring that up. They bring up the New Mexico State, But they do not bring up the Bowling Green.
Well, Jeff, that's because that game, Georgia Tech was working through a new coaching staff and a new
That's
system.
exactly what it was.
That's
wasn't
why.
it?
It was Bowling Green Super Bowl.
Bowling Green, yeah.
Yeah.
Georgia Tech couldn't get up for that game. I will say one thing he touched on in that call. I do think that Liberty is going to try to run up a lot of scores this year when they get the opportunity. So I do feel bad for some of the teams on that schedule now. I don't know about no double digits win in Boone. I mean, I think you can win. I think they can win that game, but double digits, man. Come on now.
It's going to be a tall task.
Maybe. If they do, if they do. I want cocky Liberty fan this year. That's what I want. I want it really bad. So if, like I was talking about last week, if Boise State gets smoked by Oregon, I want Liberty to just crawl up in those mentions. Because they're not the only ones now that get blown out here and there. Okay. So, but anyway, appreciate that call though.
Yeah, and we'll get to our last call of the night. Wood from Boone. First time caller, I think.
Group of 5 guys. This is Wood from Boone. Thank you so much for getting me through the off season. I've listened to them all and really, really appreciate you guys, and really appreciate you getting in all the coaches too and stuff. It's really nice. You guys do a fantastic job. Thank you. App State. I believe that the guys coming in, especially from FCS and even D2, are going to make an impact. A couple of our very best players last few years have been from FCS, and I think this year will be no different. I think everybody kind of knows what you're going to get. Guys in the West are tired of hearing about how good the East is. I mean, last few times we played in the West, it hasn't turned out too well. I think the West teams are very physical. As far as in the East, teams that played us the hardest were ODU and Coastal and James Madison. And I wouldn't expect things to be any different this year, except maybe Marshall gets a little better on defense and James Madison's kind of a wild card. I mean, you bring in 64 players, there's still going to be some question marks. I don't care who you are. But anyway, just want to mainly say thanks, and I really hope I hear from Terry Johnson. I really hope I get to hear from Steeple PC, and hope you guys get to come to Boone. Playing Liberty is going to be fun. We hate Chadwell. Let's just get it out there. We hate Chadwell, and that won't change. So his offense sucks. So anyway, have a blessed day, fellas. Talk to you soon.
Appreciate you, Wood.
I tell you about
hate Chadwell up there.
Well, I'll tell you about the West. The West, I think, is going to be very competitive, more so than it's been. I mean, Troy's been – the West has been, other than Troy, has been kind of bad the last couple of years. But I think, Texas State on the rise. I think Louisiana is going to reemerge. Arkansas State on the rise. I mean, there shouldn't be – and then Troy shouldn't be as good, but they might be. So I think the West is going to be pretty tough this year.
Yeah, I mean, we know the Sun Belt top to bottom is just so tough, and I think there is going to be a couple surprise teams that maybe pops up, and we'll kind of leave that for our Sun Belt preview next week. But I mean, it's with everything that App is returning, they got to be the favorites out of the East. I mean, I don't see who else is really going to challenge them, because I think they got better at the spots last year that they had issues at, and then all the guys that they were good at are coming back. So barring injuries and Aguilar just not showing up, like App's going to be a tough out, man.
Yeah, they're going to be good. It's going to be a fun year. App might be the Sun Belt's hope for a playoff. I think they've got the brand, and they've got the big, they got Clemson. So
that was another fan base. Before we go in the mentions, they were so upset they were not mentioned in that 4 teams that I put on there.
Like, again, that's like they're all arguing your argument for you. They're just saying they belong in that one. Like,
yeah,
Michigan doesn't, but Clemson does. Okay, fine. Then there's still 4 or 5 teams that are different than all the other ones. I mean, and like you said in there that the rest of the Power 4 is closer to the Group of 5. They absolutely are. It goes back to the Josh Pate argument from the beginning of the summer, where he's comparing Georgia State and Georgia. If that's the 2 ends of the spectrum, Georgia State and Georgia, right? Georgia Tech is way closer to Georgia State than they are Georgia. Way closer. Anybody that says otherwise is just out of their mind, honestly. But anyway, that's all we got for you guys tonight. We'll catch you next Monday with conference previews. It'll probably be, what are we going to do first? Maction? Conference USA?
One of the 2.
We'll figure it out. We'll catch you next week with 5 straight days of conference previews. Guys, next week's game week. We've done it. We've made it. Another off season. We're here. We've already had preseason football on. So, I mean, it's looking good, but can't wait till the season starts. Can't wait to get Steeple back in the calls. Can't wait to get Terry Johnson, Stu's right, back in the calls. Baker, Loy, Creme Brulee. I'm surprised he hadn't been calling.
He's saving them up.
Hype train of Texas State right now. We got to get everybody. Zachary Branner, he'll be back in there. Zach Green at Liberty will be back in there. Can't wait.
We need the App State feller back.
Oh, I love that guy. Hey, fella.
Hey, fellers.
Yeah. But anyway, man, I'm excited for it. A lot of good stuff cooking for you guys. So make sure you follow us on all the social platforms at Group of 5 Guys. Subscribe to the channel, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Most importantly, spread the good word. Tell your family and friends all about us. That's all we got for you guys tonight. We'll catch you next week.